What is going on, guys? It's Cameron, and the brand new Civil War trailer dropped, revealing the Spider-Man of the MCU, and he looks awesome. Now, this video isn't necessarily going to be a breakdown of the trailer, and the reason I'm doing this is because I don't know everything about, what's in the trailer. I don't know about Crossbones that much, really. So I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the things that I do know about, and of course, specifically Spider-Man, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so yeah. So going off what we've seen from Tony Stark so far in the trailer and from in the past, it seems that false premonition of all the Avengers being dead that Scarlet Witch put in Tony Stark's head in Age of Ultron is still affecting Tony Stark greatly in this trailer and in this movie. And of course that's pushing him to work with the government to introduce the Registration Act, and it really seems like he's motivated a hell of a lot more when Rhodes gets taken out, and it seems like he's dead, but I have a feeling that he actually might be dead, and they've put that in the trailer to show that that is Tony Stark's major motivation against Captain America. I mean, look at Tony Stark's face. He's absolutely torn up inside, and it genuinely looks like he just wants to rip straight through Captain America. And I'd also like to point out that it looks like he gets taken down by the Winter Soldier just by how it's edited, but it somewhat looks like a beam that would come out of Vision's Infinity Stone in his head, so we'll just have to wait and see about that. Moving over to Black Panther and talking about what his motivations are for going after the Winter Soldier, it really seems like something about maybe his father dying in the explosion at the UN. I think it's the UN, by the way, and somehow the Winter Soldier is said to be connected to this, even though he's probably not. So it really seems like his motivation is revenge, and you have to be careful about that because revenge is a powerful thing, and it somewhat gives people a blind spot, maybe not necessarily realizing what they're doing. So I'm assuming or hoping that Black Panther will eventually change sides and go over to Captain America's team once realizing that Winter Soldier isn't actually a part of his father's death. But we're also getting this incredible shot where Black Panther didn't even flinch as bullets bounced off his vibranium suit. And even though that it was only a short clip, I have to say that it was probably one of the highlights of the trailer just because he was so awesome. And now we also have this underwater prison, or what it seems to be Stark tech anyway. Now I imagine it's something to do with maybe holding prisoners that have supernatural powers. Like criminals that can't be held in ordinary prisons. Now I have seen other videos and obviously other comments talking about how it's similar to the Negative Zone prison. And maybe this is kind of like a nod to that, as if they're getting there, because we do know that the Doctor Strange movie coming up in the future is actually going to be introducing alternate universes and magical craziness and stuff, so maybe we will actually see the Negative Zone in that movie. Now I'm sure you guys have already seen this part a million times where people are talking about if the Winter Soldier is there behind Iron Man, then who is that in the glass tank or whatever it's in the chair? Now I did see one comment that actually said that it could be a clone of Quicksilver, and I could actually imagine that happening considering that he died in Age of Ultron, but I don't think it's likely. Now a quick mention to Crossbones, because even though I don't know an incredible amount of knowledge about him, I would like to say that I'm hoping they could have a rematch on that battle they were having in Captain America the Winter Soldier right before the helicarrier crashed into the building and cutting that fight short. We also have Scarlet Witch taking down Vision, and that actually makes sense considering that she's kind of linked to the Infinity Stone in a way, but we can tell by the Avengers logo on what looks to be a glass door that they are in the Avengers building, and no one seems to have mentioned this, but who is that guy laid down next to Scarlet Witch's legs? Is it Hawkeye? I saw someone say that it was Hawkeye, but I actually can't tell, so maybe you guys can shed some light on that. And of course, getting on to the part of the trailer that everybody is so excited about, the famous Ant-Man riding Hawkeye's arrow. And if I remember correctly, not only did we see that in the comics, but we also saw it in one of the Justice League animated series episodes, or was it an animated movie? I can't quite remember. But also, something that I'd like to point out, I haven't actually heard this from many people, but it looks like the arrows are utilizing pin particle technology, because 1 minute there's one arrow and then they separate into 3 arrows, and I don't know whether that's because Ant-Man makes other arrows bigger, or whether Hawkeye has some sort of arrow that splits into multiple arrows. Maybe it's just my eyes deceiving me, I have no idea. But going over to the main event of the trailer, Spider-Man was revealed, and oh my god, I was watching this in university, right? And literally every single person in my lecture looked over and all went, "Is that real?" And I was like, yes. And every single person ran over to my computer screen and just sat around me whilst we watched the trailer. Oh, it was awesome. But anyway, going into something that you might not have understood, Tony Stark actually says Underoos, which is actually a brand of children's underwear, and that's actually quite hilarious considering that Peter Parker in this universe is 15 years old, and Spider-Man is technically known as wearing pajamas, so it's pretty funny. Now, I don't know about you guys as well, but I think that is the best webbing sound effect I have ever heard. It sounded so authentic. We've had Spider-Man webbing sounds sound effects. It sounds like such a little thing nitpicking. But I've never noticed it to be so authentic until I saw it in this trailer. I was just like, I know that sound. I'm getting goosebumps. Goosebumps. I also can't forget to mention that we have confirmed knowledge of a mechanical web shooter now. And just looking at it from this angle, it looks like his web shooters are actually black or silver, which doesn't necessarily match his costume. So maybe they're a work in progress? I don't know. And I know plenty of you guys would have missed this, but we can also see the fat-looking Spider-Man logo on the back of his costume, which is very reminiscent of the Spider-Man PS1 game costume, and of course the Spider-Man costume from the comics. And now something that I want to put out there is, I haven't seen anybody else say this, but I kind of feel like Spider-Man taking hold of Captain America's shield is kind of hinting at the fact that maybe Spider-Man will eventually change to Captain America's side in the future of the film. But going over what Spider-Man looks like and his costume, I do know that many of you guys have been like, his costume sucks. And I honestly have to say that when I first saw the costume, I was kind of in like a neutral emotion. I just didn't know what to think. But the more I watched the trailer, the more I actually liked the costume. And I was actually surprised that a lot, and I mean a lot of people missed this. People actually were saying that Spider-Man's eyes were animated like Deadpool. They are not. They are more like shutter lenses on a camera, like you can actually hear the sound effect of them moving, and I was really surprised that people missed that. Now don't get me wrong, I actually feel like this is Marvel's way of animating the eyes without actually using CG on the eyes like Deadpool, you know, just to not copy them or something like that. But Spider-Man's eyes shutting like this also hints at the fact that this costume was most likely made by Tony Stark for Spider-Man. And it also gets me wondering, is this the MCU version of the Iron Spider armor costume? Like maybe this is their version of it, because I can't imagine them actually going all the way to making the Iron Spider armor. So maybe this is the distance that they will go. And I can't forget to mention the web cartridges on Spider-Man's belt. This is the first time we've seen something like this in the Spider-Man movie universe, so it's going to be interesting to see maybe Spider-Man will run out of webbing in a situation or something like that, because that probably should have happened in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, but it's like they forgot to put it in. And as for the spider on the front of his chest, I feel like that could be a little bit bigger, but that's just like nitpicking, so I'm not really too bothered about that. And last but not least, just the eyes in general looking phenomenal, very reminiscent of the Romita and Steve Ditko comics, so I'm very, very happy about that. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of Spider-Man's new costume? I posted about this all over my Facebook page, and I actually posted it on Twitter as well, so if you want to go to the links in the description to check those posts out, then you can go and check them out there. I probably said a little bit few more things in detail on there as well on my Facebook page, so yeah, go check that out. But have you any more thoughts on Spider-Man holding Captain America's shield? Do you think it's a sign that he'll be changing? And of course, who are you guys siding with? Team Cap or Team Iron Man? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button for more, and I will see you all next time.